you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And welcome to Gsmc Health and Wellness Podcast, brought to you by the Gsmc Podcast Network. I'm your host, Cynthia. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend and are having a great day so far. I know I am. I've had a really awesome day, and it's because I had a really awesome workout. I don't know if you guys ever feel like that as well, especially for my people who love to work out in the mornings. But this is one of the many reasons why I love working out in the mornings. It definitely just sets the right tone for my day, especially when I've accomplished something, a goal of mine, in the fitness aspect, and like you hit that goal. It literally just it's like a domino effect. I feel like after that, it's just a good thing after another. And even if something bad or kind of crappy happens during your day, I feel like in the very beginning, how you started it, knocking out one of your fitness goals, like even that crappy thing that happened can't deter that amazing goal that you reached in the beginning of the day. So that's one of the many reasons why I truly love, not just working out, of course, working out overall, but working out in the mornings, unbeatable. I will never go back to working out in the evenings ever again. Anyway, why I had a good workout though is because of my deadlift. I hit a new deadlift PR, personal record. I think I told you guys last week that I had hit a PR of 190 pounds for 6 reps doing a sumo deadlift. I've been working on this lift for the last 2.5 months, progressively overloading, trying to get stronger, and just trying to really perform my technique and my form. Especially with deadlifts, you want to make sure that your form is honestly perfect, because one small twinge and there goes your back, or that's mainly the biggest issue I hear with deadlifts is like people's backs, or people are afraid of lifting really heavy because of their low back and yada yada yada, which I completely understand. Before I started to really get serious about my training, I wasn't lifting that heavy for my deadlifts. And it wasn't until my coach really pushed me. She's like, you can do this. She's like, your form is there. I'm going to be here to motivate and push you. And ever since that one coaching session I had with her, I felt like nothing is impossible. No matter your size or anything, strength, there's no limit to how strong you can get. And I hit a new PR this morning, which is why I'm so excited and just so happy. So at my gym today, we basically have a workout of the day. So all of the classes, morning and evening, follow the same workout. And today was it was deadlifts and bench presses, but we were maxing out in our deadlifts. So we were deadlifting 6 to 8 sets, trying to find our 1 rep max. And for those of you who don't know what a 1 rep max is, that basically means what it sounds like. You can't do any more than 1 rep. Literally 1 rep is sufficient. 1 rep is challenging enough to just say I'm done. So that's what all of the morning classes I taught this morning did. And in turn, that motivated me and inspired me to do the same, because I'm like, I want to find out how heavy I can lift. Last week I lifted 190 pounds for 6 reps. So I'm like, okay, I know for sure my 1 rep max is more than 190 pounds. So there I am this morning. I'm basically like starting off with the lighter weight, increasing after that. And I was able to get up to 225 pounds, 1 rep max for a sumo deadlift. And I'm just so extremely proud of myself. I never would have thought that this little girl, me, 125 pound girl, would be able to lift that much in my lifetime. I thought reaching 200 pounds was like so far-fetched. I did not think I would be able to reach it. And if I did, it wouldn't be for a very long time. But here I am, 4 months, consistently training, consistently adding, doing deadlifts once a week. And I was able to lift 225 pounds for 1 rep. So I'm so pat on the back to me, because I'm so just happy that I was able to reach that goal for myself. It's not always about lifting, being a person in a gym who lifts the heaviest. It's not that. It's just about setting a personal goal, attaining that goal, and just feeling so freaking good about that. I literally feel like a rock star. Nothing can mess up my day. I can drive home right now. I have an hour-long drive back to my house from the studio. I can run out of gas in the middle of nowhere, and even that won't deter the fact of the amazing goal I hit this morning. So I know I'm going on and on about this goal I hit. I'm about 7 minutes in talking about my deadlift. But again, I was just so excited to share with you guys my experience this morning. And maybe my experience this morning can help motivate or inspire some of you who are tuning in, who are maybe just starting out on your fitness journey, or maybe you've been in the gym but haven't really been pushing yourself. I'm here to tell you that you can do it just with smart training, smart progressive overload, and practice and consistency. You'll get to that ideal spot where you want to be. And that's where I've hit today, and I'm excited to set new goals for myself and just keep growing from there physically and mentally. One huge reason why I'm going on and on and on about my deadlift and just deadlifts in general right now is because that is what we're going to be talking about on today's episode. Specifically, the deadlift versus the Romanian deadlift. We're going to compare the two lifts, the benefits of each, and how to properly conduct each exercise. Deadlifts are definitely one of my favorite lifts to do. Aside from hip thrusts, I'm definitely a hip thrust kind of girl. But deadlifts, not only are they one of my favorite lifts to do, but they're one of the most important strength exercises. And they provide an array of benefits. They require and build core strength, believe it or not. Deadlifts build more core strength than you lying down on your back and doing 100 sit-ups and crunches, okay? These big compound lifts, like the deadlifts, like hip thrusts, like squats, these big, heavy compound lifts require and build core strength better than those ab exercises you're doing on the floor. And this helps to establish safe motor patterns, stabilize the trunk, and improve coordination and agility. And this makes them a popular choice among not even just bodybuilders and athletes, but just anyone who wants to boost their performance, okay? Deadlifts are also popular among people who want to bring ease to their daily activities. They can increase range of motion in the hips and knees, enhance joint stability, and improve bone density. So for those people out there who are decreasing in bone density, are dealing with osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, strength training is something that's really going to help build up that bone density. And deadlifts are one of those exercises that must be included in your strength training program. Also, they're an adaptable, versatile exercise with plenty of variations that allow you to tailor your workout to meet your needs, goals, and abilities. And we'll get into those different variations as well as we progress through today's episode. So don't go anywhere, you guys, because we're going to be talking about the different types of deadlifts as well as the muscles they target, benefits, and cautions right after this commercial break.
Are you looking to learn more about the latest trends from the fitness world? Are you confused by all of the different trends that are out there? The Gsmc Fitness Podcast is the place for you. The Gsmc Fitness Podcast is the place to come for people of all skill and interest levels. Join us as we explore the latest trends in the fitness world. Does that new exercise really work? Should I try yoga? Whatever your question, chances are good you'll find an answer on the Gsmc Fitness Podcast.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Gsmc Health and Wellness Podcast. So I gave y'all the intro of deadlifts in general and why they're so needed and should be incorporated into everyone's strength training routine. So the very first or the specific variation that we're going to be discussing is one of the more popular variations of the deadlift, and that is the traditional deadlift. So I'm first going to share with you guys, the verbal cueing of how to do a traditional deadlift, along with the muscles targeted and some tips for proper form and avoiding injury altogether. So for the traditional deadlift, you're going to want to stand with your feet shoulder width apart and the barbell in front of your feet. Okay. You're going to want to broaden and open up your chest, drop your hips back slightly, hinge at your hips to bend forward and take hold of the barbell. Then press your feet firmly into the floor as you drop your hips back. Press your hips forward to come into a standing position. Hold the bar just below your hips, keeping your legs back and knees straight, and then return to the starting position by pushing your hips back, bending your knees, and squatting down to place the bar on the floor. So that is, in a nutshell, how you perform a traditional deadlift. So again, it's not a wide stance like a sumo deadlift. Traditional, you have your ankles, knees, and hips all aligned, and it's more of a narrow stance. So the muscles targeted in the traditional deadlift, deadlifts in general, they build your lower body strength by targeting your traps, your back, your abdominals, your glutes, your hips, adductors, quadriceps, hamstrings, basically your entire posterior chain. And this is exactly why deadlifts are so important, why deadlifts are so needed and should be incorporated in everyone's routine. Whether you're using a barbell or whether you're using dumbbells, a kettlebell, the mechanics of a deadlift are so essential for everyone. Okay, even for those who feel like deadlifts are going to hurt their back, no, not doing deadlifts and staying inactive is going to hurt your back. Or performing deadlifts incorrectly with improper form, with improper technique is going to hurt your back. That's why if you're a newbie and you're wanting to get started with deadlifts, highly suggest you work with a fitness coach, a personal trainer to help you get started and to help you teach you correct form with the deadlift. More specifically, the barbell deadlift, because that does place a heavier load on the posterior chain. But again, if done correctly, this is actually going to help you more than hinder you. And it's really funny now that I'm like really emphasizing this point. My mom, she always sees like my deadlifting videos because I post a lot of my deadlifts on my social media. Just kind of, it's a way for me to also track my progress, looking back on my Instagram and being like, oh, like on this day I did this much and now look where I'm at, yada, yada, yada. And so my mom always sees those posts and she'll always like, when she sees me in person, she'll be like, doesn't that hurt your back, mija? Like, oh my God, you're going to rip this. You're going to break this. And I'm like, Ma, listen, I'm a fitness professional, okay? I do this. I study this. I coach this. I know what I'm doing, okay? So I know it may look painful. Like if you've seen some deadlifting videos on social media, some of you may be sitting there like, that looks painful. That looks like it will break your back in half, but it won't, you guys. It's just proper technique, proper form, and consistently working on this lift for a prolonged period of time, okay? So I know I just went on like a whole tangent, but that's like in a nutshell how I feel about deadlifts. Back to the traditional deadlifts, right? Because that's what I was here to tell y'all. I told y'all some of the verbal cueing as far as a setup, muscles targeted. Now let me tell y'all some tips for proper form when performing a traditional deadlift. It's important to avoid making technique and alignment mistakes, like very, very important with this lift. So here are some tips for proper form. So first, begin with a comfortable light load to perfect your form, okay? So start with the standard 45-pound barbell or even a 35-pound barbell, and then gradually add weights to the sides as you progress. So whenever I'm coaching anybody, okay, especially like a newbie, I'll usually have them use a 45 or 35-pound bar and no more than 10-pound bumper plates on each side, and just work away from there. And if even that light of a load still is messing up their form, or they're just like not getting the form down, I just practice, the hinge or whatever it is they need to figure out in order to progress into a barbell lift. So from here, engage your core muscles to prevent rounding or overextending your lower back, and then keep your chest open to avoid rounding your upper back outward. So it's really important to just open and then shoulders packed and locked behind you. You're then going to want to allow your arms to hang down naturally instead of pulling the bar in against your thighs. Bend your knees slightly to target your hamstrings, and this also helps to prevent knee strain. So when you're doing a deadlift, you don't want your legs to be completely locked out, and you also don't want them too straight, because then you're going to feel a lot of it on your knees and not enough on your backside. Okay, so there's a lot of more tips I can throw at y'all, but I'm going to need y'all to pay me and book me as your personal trainer. Okay, moving on. How to avoid injury with this particular lift. While deadlifts can help to reduce low back pain, they can also cause injury to this area, okay? Just like with any major lift, if done improperly, you will experience some level of discomfort or pain. So here are some of my suggestions for avoiding injury. First, as you lift, keep your arms and back straight while engaging your core muscles. Hold the barbell using an overhand grip or mixed alternating grip, which is what I actually prefer to do, with one palm facing up and the other facing down. If you have wrist concerns, use wrist braces to support heavier loads. I don't step into the gym without my wrist braces, okay? I use the wrist wrap every time I lift, whether it's upper body or lower body, I use it, okay? I was a cheerleader for like 10 seasons. Doing backflips and flipping girls over my head has definitely taken a toll on my body. specifically my wrists and my shoulders, doing all those backflips as well and like landing on your hands, it tends to, kind of hurt after a while. So I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if people say that if you use wrist wraps, you're a wimp, yada, yada, yada. I also don't like calluses on my hands, okay? I don't like having nasty, ugly, rough hands. So I'm going to do what I need to do to keep my hands looking nice and my wrists protected. And that's on period. Anyway, besides the wrist, if you also need help with your grip strength, you can use lifting straps as well. Exercise caution and pay attention to any pain or discomfort you experience during or after the exercise. Quick disclaimer, if you are lifting really heavy, if you are trying to reach that 1 rep max like I did this morning, you will feel your low back a little tender, a little sore throughout the day. Like my low back isn't hurting, I'm not in pain, I'm not in discomfort, but I definitely feel my low back is sore, okay? So just keep that in mind when deadlifting. You might have a little bit of a sore back, but that's completely normal. As long as there's no like sharp shooting pain, you're good. Another big thing to avoid injury is to keep the barbell close to your body the entire time. The entire range, the entire movement that you're going through a deadlift, that barbell stays glued to your shins, okay? And of course, move slowly and with control, avoiding any jerky movements. I always emphasize this to my clients and members about slow and controlled movement, using that mind-muscle connection, etc. Okay? Because form is key for everything. So we're going to come to a very brief break right now. And when we come back, I'm going to share with you guys why I'm not the biggest fan of using a weightlifting belt. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Gsmc Health and Wellness Podcast. So I gave y'all the rundown of the traditional deadlift, right? Narrow stance, ankles, knees, and hips all aligned. But I did leave y'all with the cliffhanger saying why I myself don't use a weightlifting belt and why I don't recommend my clients or members to use weightlifting belts. And here's my why. Although weightlifting belts do serve a purpose and do help in some way support your low back, I also feel that people use weightlifting belts as a crutch. And here's how. When you are doing any sort of lift, your abs are engaged, okay? Your abs are always working. You need an engaged core in order to go through a lift smoothly and with good technique, especially with a deadlift. And oftentimes I feel like people rely too much on the weightlifting belt. People depend too much on a weightlifting belt and aren't actually using their muscles, pulling that belly button in, pulling that rib cage in to maintain a strong core during their lifts. You get what I'm saying? Like people just depend on the belt. Like they think, okay, I'm just going to put on this tight belt around my torso and like it's basically going to do all the work for me. Like, no. So, again, that's a personal preference. I definitely see mainly guys, honestly. Sorry, I'm calling y'all out, but I mainly see dudes using a weightlifting belt, like lifting really heavy. And yeah, that's cool and all. But me personally, I like to coach my clients to really focus on using your own body, right? Like use your own abs to maintain and support your low back. So yeah, that's where I'm at with weightlifting belts. Not the biggest fan of them. I'm good without it. Anyway, that's just a personal opinion. Let's get into Romanian deadlifts. These are slightly different than the traditional deadlift, but the mechanics are very, very similar. So with the Romanian deadlift, I'm going to first tell y'all how to do one. So you use an overhand grip to hold the bar at hip level. You draw your shoulders back and keep your spine straight. Push your hips back as you slowly lower the bar toward your feet. Press your hips forward to come into a standing position with a barbell in front of your thighs. But here's the trick, or the main thing that's different. The deadlift, you start from the ground up. The RDL, or Romanian deadlift, you start from the hips down. Let me repeat what I just said because it might confuse some of y'all. With a traditional deadlift or sumo deadlift, you start the lift picking it up from the ground up to the hips. In contrast, a Romanian deadlift, you begin the lift from the top down, from the hips going down. And the barbell, the plates on the barbell do not need to tap the floor. They actually just go about a couple inches above your ankle, and then you pull back up into that hip drive. So the muscles targeted, it targets your hamstrings more than the standard deadlifts. Definitely more of a hamstring focused exercise. You'll also, of course, work your glutes and your forearm flexors, but definitely more emphasis on the hamstrings for the Romanian deadlift. Now let's move on to another very popular variation, and that is the stiff-legged deadlift. So this variation requires more core strength and works your glutes, hamstrings, and calves more than traditional deadlifts, okay? And this enhances squatting performance and just, overall leg strength. So here's how to perform a stiff-legged deadlift. So you stand straight with your feet shoulder width apart, maintaining a slight bend in your knees. Hold a bar using an overhand grip or dumbbells. Keep your back straight as you hinge at your hips to lower the barbell or dumbbells, feeling the stretch in your hamstrings and glutes, and then slowly rise back to standing. So and of course I can't forget to get into my favorite variation, my personal favorite, and that is the sumo deadlift. I think out of all of the variations, the sumo deadlift is definitely my favorite variation. I think it always has been, and I just really like it, okay? So I'm going to give y'all the setup. I'm going to tell y'all the proper form and setup for a sumo deadlift. Okay, so a lot of people actually are generally stronger with the sumo deadlift than they are with the traditional deadlift, right? And that doesn't mean it's an easier movement, because it's not, okay? So don't get it twisted. People are just stronger with the sumo deadlift than the traditional one, and that's just what it is. So here's the step-by-step breakdown of how to properly sumo deadlift. So you start by assuming a wide stance with the toes slightly pointed out. The stance itself should be wide enough to allow the arms to be extended downwards inside the knees, elbows inside the knees as well. Okay, and the stance width will vary from person to person. However, generally speaking, the width should allow for the person to have the shins like perpendicular to the floor with the back flat and shoulders directly above the bar. So when I coach this to clients, I usually tell them to have their stance a little bit more than shoulder width apart, more than hip width apart. Okay, I don't like to have like a really, really wide stance for sumo. Anything with a sumo stance. I've seen people on Instagram with like a really wide sumo stance, like literally I think they're about to do the splits. And for me, I feel like that just targets too much in the inner thighs and not so much on like my glutes and hamstrings. And I feel like with an extremely wide stance, your range of motion is very short and limited. So again, that's just me personally and how I coach people. And you want to pull the slack out of the bar. So what I mean by that, once you're in position, you start to tighten your core, your back, legs, your glutes to create a feeling of full body tension. So that's what I mean by no slacking, like no loosey-goosey, okay? And then you slightly pull up the bar and press the legs through the floor without the bar moving yet. And once you have found your best tension position, take one breath in and then up you go. Big exhale at the top. So again, for the sumo deadlift, I think why so many people like this lift and prefer this lift is it's more comfortable mechanics. And here's what I mean by that. Where the sumo deadlift shines is that it's inherently beginner friendly for most folks, okay? The wider stance and narrow arm position shortens the range of motion, like I said, which is why most people can lift a bit more weight compared to their standard deadlift. And some lifters, specifically in the powerlifting community, think that the sumo deadlift is cheating, but it's not, okay? Powerlifters, get out of my mentions. It's not cheating. So that's one reason. Another reason why the sumo deadlift is, integrated into a lot of training programs is because more strength, specifically at the top, okay? So the sumo deadlift, we know, is another deadlift variation that can increase overall pulling strength and muscle mass. The sumo deadlift can be done in various ways, using bands, manipulating lifting tempo, adding chains. Not my favorite, but I have done it before. And because the sumo deadlift usually allows for a heavier load to be lifted, this allows you to overload your muscles with more weight than they're used to handling. Once you switch back to conventional or trap bar deadlifts, this newfound strength could help you complete the top part of the lift more efficiently. So that's just a couple of reasons why a lot of people prefer the sumo lift compared to the traditional one. And one last reason is because of less lower back strain. Unlike the conventional deadlift or the traditional deadlift, the sumo deadlift has a lifter assume a more vertical torso positioning due to foot placement, right? So by increasing the back's vertical angle, meaning that the torso is more upright, the lower back is not stressed as much as in, say, a Romanian or conventional deadlift. And this can be beneficial for those who want to limit lower back stress, monitor training volume to the erectors, or address different aspects of the pull. Okay, so in a nutshell, those are probably the three main reasons why I know for sure myself I prefer the sumo deadlift and why many others do as well. Okay, so we're going to come to a very brief break right now. And when we come back, we're going to discuss if one type of deadlift is better than the other.
The Gsmc Life and Happiness podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the Gsmc Life and Happiness podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the Gsmc Life and Happiness podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. So let's unpack this a little bit. Let's dissect this question. Is one type of deadlift better than the other? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. While one type of deadlift isn't completely superior to the variations, there are a few key differences between the types, right? So to decide which variation is most appropriate for you, you're going to want to think about your goals, strengths, and limitations, as well as which type feels most comfortable to you. So when doing all types of deadlifts, you must keep your head slightly lifted, especially if you have any neck concerns. The stability of your knees during all types of deadlifts make them a safe option for people with knee concerns. Romanian and stiff leg deadlifts target your hamstrings more than the standard form, making them ideal for people wishing to strengthen or build this particular area of their bodies. They also put less pressure on your low back and are ideal for people with back pain. So, with traditional deadlifts may straighten your lower back more, and Romanian deadlifts are the safest option for people with low back pain. Romanian deadlifts are a great option for people who want to increase hip mobility and target the glutes, which is beneficial in activities that require you to bend down, as well as movements such as squatting, okay? And with stiff leg deadlifts, this lift targets your lower back and legs more than the other types. And this makes them ideal for building strength in these areas, but also leaves you more prone to injury. That's why proper form and technique is so crucial. So I would say avoid stiff leg deadlifts if you have any concerns with your lower back and legs. So again, think about what you want to achieve as well as any limitations that may have to create the best workout plan. Always do the exercises safely and efficiently, especially when you're trying out new techniques. So what I always tell people as well is to just try all the different lifts. Like try the sumo deadlift, try the conventional deadlift, try Romanian deadlifts, try using the trap bar. Like try different variations so that way you really, first of all, just broaden your perspective, broaden your experience with deadlifts, and you'll be able to better understand and feel which one is most appropriate for you. Like I wouldn't know right off the bat, like, oh, I'm going to do this one because it looks easier. Like, no, you need to get into it and feel it, move through the range of motion and see which one you like best. This is how I knew I prefer sumo deadlifts, because I've tried the conventional, traditional deadlift, and I do like it, but I definitely feel it more on my low back rather than like where I would like it to be in my glutes, okay? I'm all about growing the glutes. I'm all about chasing the gains, okay? And personally, I feel my glutes more in the sumo deadlift than in the traditional deadlift. However, I know plenty of people who say the opposite. A lot of girls that I've talked to have said that they feel their glutes more in the traditional lift than in the sumo. So again, I think a lot of it just has to do with our body structure, our anatomy, how we just like set up and move. So some of you may agree with me. Some of you may have differing opinions, and that's okay. This is why it's just best to work with different variations safely, of course, and see which one is best suited for you. So here's a key takeaway, y'all. Deadlifts are a fundamental full body exercise that's an extremely beneficial addition to your strength training routine, okay? You'll tone and define your muscles while correcting any misalignments, which benefits your overall stance and posture. I owe a lot of my good posture to deadlifts, honestly, truly. While deadlifts can be challenging, the effort is worth it due to their total body strength development, okay? So take the time to develop proper form and technique when learning deadlifts and start with a lighter load, okay? It's not all about going hella heavy, trying to reach that 1 rep max. The reason why I'm able to do it is because 1, I'm a professional. 2, I have been working on this lift, progressively overloading once a week for like the last 4 months, and even longer than that, but like really seriously preparing for this moment the last almost 4 months. So take the time, work on good form, work on proper technique, and start light. I even sometimes like to go lighter, like on certain days. Like I'll go lighter on my load, and I just work on my mind muscle connection and like slow controlled movements. So like I said, it's not always about going heavy. Of course, like I say almost every episode, talk to your doctor, y'all, before starting a weightlifting routine if you're new to exercise or have any medical concerns. And if it's possible, and if your budget allows, have at least a few sessions with a personal trainer, okay? Like book a couple just to understand the form and then be on your way. If that's not an option, find a friend who can give you feedback and help you make corrections. This is when you're going to want to start taking videos of yourself to observe your form. I know it may feel uncomfortable. You may get a little camera shy, but trust me, it's really going to like help you see where you need to improve, where you're doing well in, and everything in between with these lifts. So after explaining the different lifts, which variation is your guys' favorite? Okay, I want to know. Are you more sumo? Are you more traditional? Let me know in the comments, because y'all know I love to hear what you guys have to say. So I forgot to mention one more variation of a deadlift. And the reason I was kind of hesitant to leave this specific variation out is because, one, a lot of people aren't familiar with this specific variation. I definitely say it's more of the CrossFit type of lift. But regardless, this is an episode about deadlifts, and I think I should give y'all a good array of options when it comes to deadlifts, especially if you're a beginner and you're just now first hearing about this lift. I want to share with you guys how to do a snatch grip deadlift, plus the benefits and safety tips. So, a snatch grip deadlift is an advanced variation of the traditional deadlift, which is why I wasn't sure if I should put it in today's episode. I'm like, what the heck? I'll just do it. So it's a more advanced level. And the snatch grip is done with a wider grip on the barbell. Some weightlifters prefer a wide snatch grip because it's more comfortable for the lower back. So here are some of the benefits of the snatch grip deadlift. It works the following muscles: the hamstrings, glutes, upper back, hips, core, traps, lats. Basically the same as a traditional deadlift. So in terms of like working your upper back, the snatch grip deadlift works a lot of the same muscles as a traditional deadlift. But because of the positioning of the wide grip, it works more of the upper back than the lower back. And you may prefer the position of a snatch grip if you have lower back pain or if you're looking to strengthen your upper back. It also increases your range of motion. The snatch grip deadlift is a deeper movement than a traditional deadlift. The wider positioning of the arms means you have to extend your hips further back to the movement. And this helps you to more deeply engage the muscles of the traps, hamstrings, and upper back. The movement may also increase your range of motion in these muscles, and this can help you better perform other exercises, including traditional deadlifts. Also, it helps improve hip mobility. I'm all about moving the hips and really stretching and elongating the joints in that area, since many of us have desk jobs or we're just like not as active as we should be. We're very sedentary as a society. I think American society as a whole, we're very sedentary group of people. So hip mobility is like so important. That way you're not feeling discomfort in your hips, obviously. So the deeper starting positioning of the snatch grip may also help improve your hip mobility. Hip mobility is an important functional movement for everyday activities like bending down and over to pick up objects from the floor and just staying limber, okay? Staying tall, staying firm in your posture. We're going to cut into a very brief break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how to perform a snatch grip deadlift.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The Gsmc America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the Gsmc America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, welcome back to GSMC Health and Wellness Podcast. We are now entering the final segment of today's show, so I hope you guys have been enjoying it so far and are now ready to get into this snatch grip deadlift and how to properly do it. So here's the setup. First, you'll want to pick a barbell that's light enough that you can comfortably complete 8 to 12 reps, but heavy enough that you feel challenged. Next, you'll want to make sure that your positioning is correct. For this move, you'll need to use a wide grip to hold the barbell. Your arms should remain extended throughout the move, and your feet should be turned out slightly. To identify the correct placement for your hands on the bar, start by lifting your elbows so that they're at shoulder level. Your arms should form downward, pointing 90-degree angles. Then extend your arms fully. This is the correct positioning of your arms for your snatch grip deadlift. And here's an expert tip I'm about to give y'all. Put tape on the bar to remind yourself where to place your arms when you're ready to do the exercise, okay? Because placement is key. So here are the snatch grip deadlift instructions. That was just the setup. So here's how to actually flow through the movement. So now that you know how to set up the move, let's go step by step on how to complete the exercise. So first, start by standing behind the bar with your feet hip-width apart and rotated out slightly. Dip your hips back until you're almost in a full squat position and grip the bar using the placement steps outlined above. If you're using small plates or no plates, you can balance the bar on block so that you're able to retain proper form when grabbing the bar. Slowly rise out of the squat position while holding the bar. Keep your back straight and your arms extended throughout the move. Squeeze your butt muscles as you reach the top and then slowly lower the bar back down to the starting position. So with that being said, let's get into some of the safety tips. The snatch grip deadlift is an advanced move, as I mentioned already. So make sure before you even try into this fancy schmancy lift, make sure you have traditional deadlifts mastered. Okay, mastered before moving on to this variation. It's a deeper movement than a normal deadlift and will engage the muscles of the upper back, hips, lats, and hamstrings more. If you're injured or feel a lot of pain throughout the exercise, you'll want to skip this move. So here is a sample beginner workout I'm going to give y'all. So if possible, work with a certified personal trainer who can watch your form as you practice deadlifts. And this will help you avoid injury. So if you're a beginner, practice these moves before moving on to snatch grip deadlifts. Deadlifts with dumbbells, then kettlebell swings, and then bent over rows. So practice these exercises 2 or 3 times a week to build up strength. And during each workout, aim to do 8 to 10 reps of each exercise for 2 or 3 sets. So here's the key takeaway for this lift, y'all. The snatch grip deadlift is an advanced move. So make sure you've mastered the form for a traditional deadlift before moving on to a snatch grip. Some weightlifters prefer the snatch grip because it's easier on the lower back, but it'll fully engage other muscles like your lats and hamstrings. The positioning of your body and using correct form is very important for this move. So use a spotter or a personal trainer to confirm you're doing the move correctly. Doing the snatch grip with improper form could lead to injury, and we do not want that, right? Who wants an injury? Like, absolutely nobody. So, get into that. Let me know which variation is your favorite, which one you haven't tried, and leave any other tips you guys may have down in the description box or in the comments for all the other listeners to read, okay? And another really quick question I have for y'all. When you do deadlifts, do you guys like to do an overhand grip or one overhand, one under? Let me know. Me personally, I like to do one over, one under for sumo. And then for conventional or traditional, I like to do overhand. So you guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode here at the Gsmc Health and Wellness Podcast. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode regarding deadlifts. I hope you guys enjoyed my personal little win today, this morning, hitting my 1 rep max. And I want to hear from you guys. Like I said, I've been saying that, but I really do love to hear from y'all. Let me know if you've hit your 1 rep max and what weight you did it at. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff, because that tremendously helps the show. And I'll catch you guys here for the next one.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Health and Wellness Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.